Hello, class. Today I want to resume points that we were making on the Carol Hay article from the New York Times, A Feminist Kant, and I just wanted to wrap up some of the points and call attention to some of the main themes as we had looked at them in our last class. So let me find it here on Google Docs. Yes, so a feminist Kant, we have 2 points. One is the emphasis and value that the second categorical imperative, which is so to act that you use humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, always at the same time an end and never merely as a means. That is Kant's second formulation of the categorical imperative, and the importance for that rests on 2 points. One is that you are to respect yourself. So, in other words, one is to be good to oneself ethically because one is in recognition of the fact that we are rational, autonomous agents that are deserving of respect and capable of performing goodness as our duties. Okay, so we are obligated to ourselves to be ethical, and likewise we are also obligated to other people to be ethical. So in other words, the idea that we are always at the same time treating others as an end, never merely as a means, also is that we are treating them as an end, as morally rational, autonomous agents that are deserving of respect in the name of goodness, and also in the name of our doing our duty as well as good moral agents to recognize this, not only in ourselves but other people. So this has significance for the feminist because the feminist is recognizing that traditional ethics have positioned women as a means to man's end, so to speak. So in other words, women were frequently treated as being less than male. So in other words, not fully capable of rational thought in the way that men can be. And this is something that actually Kant is charged with as well. So that's the controversial point of Hay bringing the two together. So Kant and feminism are not, they're an unlikely pairing. So, and it's for this reason because Kant had misogynist views. But what Hay is doing is seeing that he still has elements of his deontological ethics that a feminist can use to help understand this idea of using someone as a means, as the second formulation of the categorical imperative urges us to do. So we have the importance of the second categorical imperative, as I just detailed, and then likewise we also have the importance of duty as well. So how is it that we understand duty by way of Kant? Well, by way of Kant, we have the perfect duties, and we also have the imperfect duties. So the perfect duties are ideas where we are not harming ourselves unnecessarily, and we are not also harming others. Now, the difficulty with that is that we have problems of how it is that we think of suicide and euthanasia as ways of potentially harming people in unknown ways. So this is controversial duty, but we can recognize it on a general level as being something that's important to not harm ourselves and not harm other people, as a general principle seems reasonable, and something that we should observe as much as we can, right? And then another part of that also is to be honest. In other words, keep our promises, and likewise to be to tell the truth. So, in other words, these are things that we should strive to do in a perfect way, as perfectly as we can. Obviously, there's going to be allowances, as we highlighted with the idea of killing in wartime, euthanasia, the death penalty, abortion, etc., suicide. Then we also have the imperfect duties, and the imperfect duties have to do with assisting others in need, and then the duties one has to oneself to develop their talents and likewise their own moral character. So in other words, you have an obligation to do these things, except that you are not charged with doing it in a precise way. So in other words, to develop one's talent doesn't look the same for me as it does for you. So you don't necessarily have to do it my way. Likewise, I don't necessarily have to do it your way. So in other words, if we tie it back to the message in which Hay was trying to emphasize as far as its application to feminism, David Foster Wallace's friend, a native companion, is obligated to do something in the name of respecting herself and also respecting other people by showing that they are in violation of the categorical imperative in a way that best serves the interests of the situation. So if she feels she needs to go to the manager, she could do that. If she feels she needs to directly confront them, she could do that. If she feels that it's enough for her to not be offended by it, I think that that's also permissible too, as far as how it is that Hay is understanding it. So if we look at it in those senses, we're getting the emphasis of the categorical, the second formulation of the categorical imperative for the feminist, and we also have the emphasis on perfect duties versus imperfect duties. And I think that the emphasis on the imperfect duties was Kant's way to tie in the idea of contingency into his absolutist deontology. So that's a little bit of a recap of how it is that we understand Carol Hay's New York Times article, I believe it was 2013, on a feminist Kant. So thank you, and have a wonderful day.